How do you feel about knowing that you'll get bombarded with questions every time you're doing an interview?
I love it. This is I just enjoy answering questions. That's the basis of my podcast. Ask a Spaceman is where people
Yeah.
ask me questions. For years, I hosted a live radio show where people would call in or drop messages asking me questions, and I would answer them live. I would have a planetarium show once at one point in my career
Wow.
where I just stood at the bottom of the theater and there was an operator running the computer in the back. People would just ask me questions. The operator would bring up visuals and then I would answer them. I love it, actually. I live for it.
It's amazing. It seems that, because before sending the email to you, I've been completely immersed with all of the content that you've been producing on YouTube and all of your different interviews. And, I'm especially interested in the intersection between art and science, but I guess we'll talk about this a bit later. But before moving further, I'm really interested to explore a bit your passion towards the whole field that you are involved in, because from all sorts of content that I've been seeing involving you, it seems that you always have such strong passion and it's always interesting for you and you're really enjoying what you do. So yeah, walk me through that. How did this develop for you?
Yeah, the easy thing is I love it. I'm fascinated by it. I personally find all this interesting, even areas outside of my own particular research. When I learn about it, I think it's really cool and interesting and fascinating. And so when I speak with enthusiasm, I'm speaking from the heart. I'm speaking from myself. I think this is all super cool and I love to share it and I love to talk about it and I love to teach. I love to educate and I love to get people to understand and see the universe the same way I do. I've always been fascinated by science. I remember ever since I was a kid reading science books, begging my parents for more, just trying to get my hands on as many science books as possible. I loved everything about dinosaurs and paleontology and astronomy and biology and geology and physics and just all the things I was constantly reading.
Mhm.
But as I was becoming a teenager, I never even realized that becoming a scientist was for me.
Yeah.
I always thought and I always assumed that science was a thing done by much smarter people, by different people, and certainly not me. I was a nerd, however, so I went into college as a computer science major, and I wanted to work in a science adjacent field. I wanted to program satellites for NASA. I wanted to work with scientists, but it never even occurred to me that I could be a scientist. And then it wasn't until my third year of college, I was taking an astronomy course as an elective, as an optional course. I thought it'd be really fun. I'd always loved these topics. And so now I thought it'd be fun to learn about it a little bit more rigorously. Within a couple of weeks, the professor pulled me aside and said, "Look, you seem really interested in this. You're doing great in the class. You have an aptitude for this. You can be a physics major, right? If you want to be." I was like, "Wait, what?" He said, "Yeah, like you can be a physicist. This can be for you." Like my head exploded. I never realized that this was an option. It all clicked within a week. I changed majors to physics, and I've never looked back.
Wow. I mean, you've mentioned that you've been fascinated by so many different things during your childhood. Do you remember a specific moment that it clicked in your head that you're fascinated specifically by, astrophysics and cosmos and all of that? Was there a specific moment where you got your mind blown by something?
Yeah, there actually wasn't a specific moment that I narrowed down into this field. It was a slow and gradual evolution. In undergrad, I did some research on quantum field theory. I published my first paper in quantum field theory, and I just wanted to be a physicist. That's what I wanted to be. That's where I wanted to take my physics degree, was in research in academia. And so I applied to a bunch of graduate schools. I got into one. I went in knowing I wanted to be a physicist, but not knowing in what direction, because so many different fields interested me. I talked to many potential advisors, some in astronomy, some in cosmology, some in high energy physics, some researching chaos theory, some studying biophysics and the relationship between physics and biology. I found all of them fascinating, and I just kept talking with the potential mentors, talking with the faculty, having conversations. And then over one conversation with a faculty member at my graduate school, which was the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, who became my advisor, Paul Ricker. We were chatting, and there was this interesting project idea that he was cooking up with another faculty member named Ben Wandelt about the relationship, a potential relationship between dark matter and dark energy, and how this idea had been proposed, but we needed to dig into more with simulation work and with computer work. And this had always been a skill set of mine, of doing simulations, of doing work with the computer. The project seemed interesting to me, and that specific project seemed interesting to me. And so I dug in and I loved it. And then I just kept going.